Set it on fire.
Well, as you can smell, I've been burning on. Yeah.
This is really nice to have all this light. You can see what you're doing.
It's Stacy.
See Harold here.
Christian, you ready? Okay. Do you guys pull these things forward, or are they good enough to pick up?
No,
I just-
we need him closer.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everyone out to our November 6th airport board meeting. So I would like to excuse Councilman Cardin and Corey Pierce and Brian Park off the board that couldn't make it today. Before we begin with our regular agenda items, do we have any public comment? So you can come up. All right, we'll say there's none. We'll go on to item number 1, our review of the minutes for the August 7th meeting. So those were printed and delivered and emailed. Do we have a motion to accept those?
Motion.
All right, motion by Claire,
Second?
second by Stacy. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. All right, item number 2, a financial report. Jordan Hills. And that was additionally emailed out.
Yeah. Any questions to start with? Any? All right.
Any variances that jump out at you that you want to explain?
Landing fees we budgeted this year at $125,000. We did not institute. I think we budgeted as if landing fees would go into effect July 1st, and we were going to get 12 months of revenue. Landing fees went into effect August 1st. They were billed in September, and then the third party gave us the money in October. So there's a 2-month delay there. So instead of 12 months of landing fee revenue, we're going to get 9 months of landing fee revenue. So we will not hit the $125,000, I don't suspect. Yeah. Wings and Wills, there was an awesome turnout there. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that there's anything big to highlight. I don't think there's as much capital happening, if I remember right, this year.
You'll see a lot of change in the next board meeting in February. We do our billing cycle starting in December, and that's when a lot of our revenue streams come in with our annual billing.
Yeah. Yeah, we will bill the ground lease here in a month or so. Yeah. But if you don't have any questions, I'll sit down and answer questions as they come.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Jordan. All right, item number 3, facility report from Christian.
Here's a look at our operational numbers since August. So since August, we've had just over 28,000 operations at the airport. That brings our operation total to 106,657 operations this year. We're projected to reach around 128,000 at the end of this year. And for comparison, last year we had 118,000 operations. Again, landing fees have rolled out at the airport. We encourage those that are using the airport to utilize our webpage that we have dedicated to landing fees. We've got a lot of FAQs there with questions and information, so we encourage you to use that. Here's a look at our kind of operational impacts for the last 3 years with our takeoffs and landings. You can see that we did see a drop in August, presumably due to the rollout of landing fees, and then September and October, those numbers have climbed back up closer to be in line with what we've been the last few years. Kind of an end-of-year project recap. We've, as airport staff, have tackled piping some ditches and bringing infields up to grade. We're certainly not done with those projects yet, but just to date this budget year, we've piped just over 1,200 feet of storm drain line. We are continually bringing up to grade and adding fill some of those areas on the infield between Taxiway Alpha and the runway. We've got plans to seed these areas next year, and then have in the next year additional piping projects planned. Here's a look at kind of our end-of-year construction update. We've got over 300,000 square feet of new asphalt on the north side of the runway. And we've also got a new entrance road that'll be called Aviator Way. We should see signage going up in the next few weeks on that. We've currently got 37 new hangars that are almost complete and ready for certificates of occupancy. We are expecting those to be issued by the end of November. And then we've got foundations poured currently on 46 more hangars. This leaves us, based off of site plans from developers, with 38 more planned hangars on the Main Street side of the airport. And here's a look at the north side of the airport from May 2024. And just this last September 2025. Another reminder that we've got the hangar lease availability map on our airport website for use by airport users. This map will display hangars with space available and contact info for those that have that space for lease. We've added a for sale option to this map, so if you own a hangar and are selling it, reach out to airport staff and we can list your hangar for sale on this airport map. And then, again, this is embedded on our website, so we encourage airport users who are hangar owners to reach out if you're looking to lease or sell your hangar. We're happy to put it on here. And if you're looking to lease hangar space, reach out or just hop on our website and look what's available. As we move into the winter months, just a reminder that we'll be plowing the airport this winter. We've got more area to plow with over 30% more asphalt added on the north side of the airport. We do not have an increase in staff or equipment, so we ask that airport users be considerate of that. We've got our focus is on the runway primarily, and then the taxiways, and then moving out from there. Delays may occur depending on snowfall, if equipment is fully operational, things like that. We also remind tenants that they must clear 10 feet in front of their hangar doors. And then over the last year, we've also made available the airport operations line instead of the airport manager's personal cell number. So we encourage airport users to reach out to that airport operations line. It's staffed 24/7 with an airport staff member. We also are grateful that the City Streets Department continues to assist the airport with their equipment and manpower as they are able to in the winter. And lastly, we just ask that airport users be patient and plan ahead. Wings and Wheels recap. We had just over 25,000 attendees at the event this year. We had some great sponsors and look to continue to grow relations with those sponsors. And moving forward, as the event continues to evolve, we'll look at making changes next year. The airport planning committee for this event and airport staff are discussing what those changes look like, but it might be the reduction of certain car areas or other things to simplify the event as it's grown pretty big. The upper right-hand picture there is a gentleman that came down to our event from, I think, Idaho, who was a tail gunner on a B-17. So it's really fun to bring this event together and get to witness history and kind of connect that to our community. And that's it.
Great. Thanks, Christian, for the report. Any questions from members of the board? All right, with none, we'll go on to item number 4, hangar ground lease language request. Hal Jackson. So I don't see Hal in attendance. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5, the ATP business application for Alex Fitzgerald. If you're here yet, come to the podium.
All right. Well, thank you for letting us take a few minutes out of the meeting. Christian, thank you for all your help getting this scheduled. What we're hoping to do is open up a satellite location here in Spanish Fork. It's supposed to be, we're hoping to make it smaller than the one in Provo, but to help alleviate some of that pressure on our facilities up there. So really what we would be looking to do is to move about 10 to 15 of our students down here to Spanish Fork, about 3 to 5 of our CFIs. And then we would start with about 1 aircraft, maybe 2, going up to a maximum of 6 aircraft. Now, we've executed a lease right now for hangar D6. That'll fit about 4 aircraft is what we're expecting, and about 2 tie downs is what we're looking for. So again, it'd be more of a satellite location, help alleviate some of that pressure off of our Provo location. Several of our CFIs and students, including myself, live down here in Spanish Fork. Obviously, it just makes it a little bit more convenient for us, and yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. Excuse me. We've got your application here. Any questions from the board before we go?
Since I'm a little newer, is it normal for them to come in and ask, is just because it's a flight school, not because it's just leasing a hangar or buying a hangar, right?
If you're going to have a business operation on the airport, you've got to have a business license, and those are approved through the airport board.
Okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
I have a question for on your hangar. What's the completion date? Was that mentioned? I missed that.
The completion date, I believe it's in December right now. So on our application, we did have a start of operations listed for November 15th, but that would actually be December 15th is when we would expect it. We wouldn't expect, though, to commence full-time operations until the beginning of 2026, so probably in January.
Okay.
And Christian, in the review of their application, do they meet all the requirements for a flight school with the bathrooms, the tie downs?
Yes, once they've got the hangar completed, they'll meet those requirements.
Okay. Once completed. Okay. With that, then, do we have a motion to approve a request based off of completion of the hangar and the location on the 15th of December to commence operations? Historically, no, but do you have a question? I mean, I guess I've allowed it. Go. What's your question, Mark? I mean,
I'll also remind that we are publicly broadcasting this, so to pick up your voice, we'd request that you come up to the stand and speak into the microphone.
Yeah, my concern is we've got 8 different flight schools on the airfield already, more than any other airport in the entire state of Utah, probably more than most of the flight schools combined in the state of Utah, which raises congestion concerns, safety concerns. It was the basis for which we rolled out landing fees originally. And so I'm just concerned about introducing yet another, I think, flight school too.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what your question was. That's why I'll go for
Yeah,
it. But
so we've seen one of those flight schools essentially maintain their license but not use it for active teaching, and we've lost a flight school. So day-to-day operational, fully operational flight schools, we have 6 currently.
Okay.
yeah,
7 that are licensed. Okay. Yeah, and again, my concern is for safety in the pattern, for congestion at the airport, and I feel like there needs to be some sort of standards where this airport sort of says, hey, we've got enough flight schools already, we're servicing more than the rest of the state, and
So I like I said, I wonder if this seems to be the sentiment of a lot of our users at the airport, as well as a lot of members on the board. This very specific item has been addressed with the FAA on our oversight on if this is something we could do. Could operations be limited? They are very strong very strong stance that as a public use airport, that cannot be limited, that if we had some sort of
So there's ways to limit it. Provo Airport, for example, has different standards that needs to be required or met. And those standards can be raised and lowered in order to discourage.
So you're correct. So Provo, again, Mark, I'm actually going to stop you. If you want to talk after, I'll be more than glad because all these gone through. But Provo specifically, you're right. They've got that through the number of tie downs they have. They have that limited that if you're a business, you have to have so many
Also
tie downs.
fees.
So their tie down space is what's limited. Since we hadn't implemented that, we can't use their logic. But if that had been a case, if we had said that every business needs to have 10 tie downs, that once we run out of tie downs, a business can't come because they don't have a tie down. Since that was never in our standards, we can't implement it back on the back end.
Yeah.
So
That's fine. For the record, I want to voice the safety concern for the board, and let them know.
Well,
We understand.
we understand. I'm glad to know, and I don't want you to understand that we're in opposition. We are trying to figure out how to manage a public use airport that can go through a free market system and with the requirements that the FAA requires us to maintain based off of the grant assurances that they provide. Because once they give, so much money to this airport as far as grants, there's grant assurances that we have to maintain. And if we have been told very bluntly that if we limit any businesses that are outside of the scope of meeting this. And so for ATP is a perfect example. This gentleman came to us in May of this year, and we denied because he didn't maintain all of the areas that were in our standards. So once he has a facility, based off of that, I'm not seeing anything. Christian has reviewed.
I'll add another note there that the board's considered. We can't grandfather in businesses to certain standards. If we implement stricter standards or higher business fees or whatever it is, that is retroactive. So the board's weighing, do we increase these standards dramatically, and does it impact the mom and pop flight school that started here 20 years ago and force them to make some difficult business decisions?
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
yep. And I appreciate it, Mark. If you have questions after, you're more than glad to go through. So, all right, with that, we have this request for application. I'm actually going to, just so we don't turn this into open forum, if you have something after, well, let's just go with that route so that we can go through our items on this. But, all right, do we have a motion to accept or deny this application?
I move to accept the ATP business application.
All right, motion by Stacy, second.
I second it. Go ahead.
Oh, well, actually, Brad, I heard you. We'll go a second
Second it.
by Brad. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, those opposed? Okay. Motion carries. And again, I understand the general sentiment of the airport. If you guys have questions, but if this is your first board meeting, it might not sound like we've gone through this, but this has been something the board, I would say, for the last 24 to 36 months has attacked on multiple angles, and it's just where we are. So, with what we got. All right, on to item number 5, a business. I'm sorry.
Right?
Yes, I apologize. Item 6.
Yeah, I'd note that I did see Hal Jackson come into the meeting. Would we want to hop back to that agenda item?
All right. Yep. Thank you, Christian. All right, we'll hold on item 6. We'll go back to item number 4. Hangar ground lease language request. Hal Jackson.
Yes, this subject was brought up a year ago in July, and presentation was made by Corey Borup then. He began his presentation with a picture that I think you're all familiar with. Maybe this was a little over the top, but I feel like I'm among friends here, so we want to discuss this item. The last time it came up, it was tabled, and so that's why I'm bringing it up again. And I want to address the objections that I heard in that last meeting. Objections to eliminating the 1,680 square foot minimum. Someone said T-hangers need to pay more than tie-down spaces that are currently $900 a year. And my response to that is no, because hangars are sitting on bare ground and tie-down spaces are sitting on asphalt paid for by the city. So it's fair for a tie-down tenant to pay more than a T-hanger because they're sitting on improvements that they didn't pay for. Backing up a little bit, I did try to research where the 1,680 square foot minimum originated. I requested the airport manager help me find that. He was unable because he said they don't have minutes from board meetings back that far. I was able to find a 2001 lease for another hangar that does include that minimum square footage, but it seems a bit arbitrary to require 1,680 square feet minimum. So going on to objection number 2, T-hanger should pay a higher rate because they have 40 feet of frontage like a 1,600 square foot hangar. And my answer to that is no, because several hangars have multiple doors on multiple sides and they don't pay extra. So if the intent is to impose a fee for not just the space that the hangar is occupying, but the frontage area for accessing the hangar, there needs to be another method of assessing those costs. But really, I feel the most equitable way for us little guys like Corey and that have the smallest hangars, just figure out how much money the airport needs, divided how many square feet are total or leased. Let's not put any minimums on it. Objection 3. I heard this from someone at the last meeting. By eliminating this minimum fee that we're asking the poor widow taxpayers of Spanish Fork to subsidize your hangar lease. And that was, the answer is no, we're not. We're asking all the users of the airport to share the costs equally. Let 1 square foot of space pay the same rate as the other. So it's time to make a decision. I request an up or down vote on this proposal to eliminate the square footage in lease calculations. Ogden and Provo airports have no minimums. So let's do the same for Spanish Fork. Corey, do you have anything to add?
Just that we're the smallest hangars, and we also had that added requirement to tear our hangars down and start over. And I had to pay tens of thousands to have the front of mine have asphalt put in, even though there was no pioneering agreement. They just said if you want your lease, pay $23,000 to have the asphalt. So it's just, one more thing.
I'll add one note here. Ogden and Provo are commercial service airports. If you're a commercial service airport, the FAA is putting a lot more federal dollars into maintaining and operating your airport. Spanish Fork's obviously not a commercial airport. So we are put in a different financial position, and we've got to be, sometimes more creative or more active at pursuing different revenue streams to maintain and run our airport.
Yep. Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, but those creative ways should not penalize the smallest of your hangar owners.
So I don't think it does. And so I'll kind of maybe speak on behalf of the board up here, because this is something that, like I said, was brought up. It's something that we're aware of. You know, some of your formulas don't quite match up, in my opinion. So you're saying that if we should take the number of square footage, that 400, you know, and divide it amongst every square foot amongst there. I'll tell you right now, I know amongst our current hangar or our current footprint, we have about 400,000 square feet of hangars. I know our operational costs per year are $400,000 roughly, and that doesn't include salaries. That's just the operational cost. So at that rate, your hangar lease rate would be $1 a square foot. So back to Christian's point, we do try to figure out ways to try to minimize impact, but much like any public service that's provided to people in town, there is a minimum value. So let's just pick your water to your house. If you don't turn your water on at all for the month, you're still going to pay a service fee for what it takes to bring a water line in, to maintain that water line over a set unit of time for replacement, things of that nature. Now, most people in town utilize so much water that it goes beyond what that minimum is, so they never see it. Now, I understand you guys are at where we see the minimum, but what your hangar lease rate provides you for such a small fraction of a cost. So at that $1,680, you're paying roughly $740 a year. You're getting access to a $30 million facility that is one of the best in the state of Utah, that is the best that doesn't have commercial services, with snow removal, with what features it has. So it actually, on the other end, it feels like you're trying to actually get out of having access to that facility, that you're wanting someone else to pay that bill for you. So there's just a minimum.
We're paying double what everybody else.
Yeah,
is.
we're
Our
paying
hangar's
double
like
what
800 square
what
feet, you know. So.
1,680 square feet hangar. We're paying double the rate.
You're paying access to that $30 million facility to store your aircraft on.
Yeah,
You should
and-
charge everybody that same access and then go with square footage.
Yeah, figure out a different formula for
'Cause you just
for
have to
assessing the
go
access
back
then,
and say-
and not pin it to a square footage.
Yeah, so the other items that the board reviewed is back to your tie down, and I don't know, I don't recall some of the meeting items that were said, but the $900 for the tie downs was to maintain its foot for a 20-year replacement. So what it takes in asphalt for itself to replace across a 20-year plan is $900 per year across 20 years.
Yeah.
Your hangar is not just your footprint of what you said was bare ground. You are responsible for the 10 feet across the linear front, which would be more square footage, my guess, over a tie down. So at that point, I don't think that was worked into the formula how it goes through. So you're still needing to maintain the door front of what your hangar is
Yeah.
through 10 feet.
Okay, and what about those hangars like 57 through 60 that have double doors? You don't charge them extra.
I don't have 57 through 60. I don't know I don't know which ones you were calling. Are you talking about like a cul-de-sac type
No,
mindset?
I'm talking about hangars that have doors on the east side and a west side, so they have access on both sides. So if your logic is true, then you should be assessing extra costs to those hangars that have double doors.
I'm not sure. Is that how those are maintained? I mean,
Development
they're
around the
responsible for
airports.
that. I think they're better.
They're paying a lot more money.
I was going to say they're bigger hangars, paying a lot more, and I do believe they are still responsible for the 10 feet on both sides. Am I not correct
Yes,
on that?
they are.
So Christian, what would the FAA say? You know, if
The FAA gives airports the ability to set their rates and formulate them how they want. And, you know, if you've come up with a way to charge your rate, and, you know, the FAA gives the airports the ability to do that.
they do, if somebody's being treated unfairly, they will look into it if you file it.
If you want to file a Part 16 complaint, you know, they could certainly decide if they want to take the time and effort to do that.
I'll tell you the opinion of the board, as we've discussed this during work sessions, the board is not interested in trying to figure out, or not trying to figure out.
But if you're going to charge by square footage, it should be same across the board. And then if you're going to charge a minimum, note that this is the minimum because of this, and charge everybody that same minimum, and then a reduced square footage or something. It's just
Again, from what our understanding is, though, is that that formula was done based off of what the service provided, so what it takes to maintain that $30 million facility.
but there's no documentation.
Divided amongst each of the hangars, what that was, and if their hangar exceeded that, then there was additional to maintain the pavement in front of it. So,
So how did that 1680 minimum arrive?
again, from that formulation. So,
Where is the formulation?
Yeah, there's just no documentation.
Where can we see it?
I would refer you to our city, standard on that, because again, this has been something that's already been worked in. It's much like the 900 per tie down. I don't have that formula in front of us. You can go through there. That was just what the guidance was from our staff. So,
Okay, here's another scenario. My neighbor, Corey Borup, who, as I mentioned, made the presentation a year ago, July, has the same size hangar as mine. It's in the same building. We got the same building permit. Now, if he and I decided to combine our hangars, now we're above the 1,680 square feet.
okay.
Then the city will get basically the reduced revenue from those two hangars, if we combine them as one building.
Yeah,
Any objection to that?
I'll just note that if you do go through that process, that you work through the community development or building department and make sure you get the right permits to do that.
I was
Hey,
going to say.
we got all the permits that they required for building that brand new building that you forced us to do.
So Harold, what do you do when you go to sell? Do both you and Corey sell together? Or do you have to do a subdivision again?
No, what we would do, we would set up an LLC that would own the building and the two hangars together, and when we sell, we would just sell a access or a partnership in the LLC.
If that's an avenue you want to review, again, I would refer you to Christian.
It's not the money that bothers me. It's the patent unfairness. It's just,
Utilities tell you that this is the minimum, and anything above that, you pay this much kilowatt hour, or this much per acre feet. But on ours, it's what you're paying per.
or why not
square
1,200 square feet,
So again, from what my understanding was, where the 1680 came from,
But there's no documentation, throw us a bone.
I'll say it's not the interest of the boards to go and reverse engineer and figure out where this was. If you want to file, a complaint through the state beyond that, that's fine. But
Well, I did invite my friend and retired attorney, Joe Lecky, to attend, just so he could evaluate what any legal ramifications may be here. But
Can I ask
will
a
just-
question? I don't know if you know the answer to this. How much would you save if it was changed?
if it was changed, I would save on my 880 square foot hangar, I would save about $400 a year. It's not a big amount of money.
Right.
It's just the concept of I have to pay the same rate as a hangar that's twice as big as mine. I just feel it's unfair. So anyway, in the words of Jim Croce song, operator, thank you for your time. You've been so much more than kind. You can keep the dime.
all right. On to item 6, business approval and license request for Matt Curtin.
Thank you for taking a few minutes. I'm Matt Curtin, and my business is Pilot Proficiency Center and Let's Fly VR, and we're just requesting approval for business license to operate on the airport. So what we do is we utilize a VR flight system, online training curriculum, and pre-designed scenarios to give kids age 10 to 18 sort of a jump start in aviation and to give them their kind of a first experience. So we work primarily with the parents of those kids. We work primarily with, right now, actually, with kids homeschool. We're approved for the Utah Fits All Scholarship and the Children First Education Fund to help kids with special needs, with autism and ADHD and other things like that. So we're planning to operate out of the spare space in the Flight Academy hangar. I'm also located in hangar 65E. And from time to time, we take kids there to let them walk around a plane and sit inside and smell the avgas and things like that. So that's what we do. Questions?
Anything, board? No, it looks like a good, a fun little venture.
Fun.
Yeah. I do know when we reviewed this, there were some questions on the insurance. Can you clarify that?
Yes, we've upped our insurance minimums, but I'll touch base with you on that after the meeting, if that's okay.
Since we last talked? I do have the certificate here with me.
Yeah.
That you had requested.
There might be a slightly higher liability insurance requirement the city has.
Yeah, there's a $1 million base and then a $2 million aggregate requirement.
Okay.
So
All right,
just
we'll
want to make
talk,
sure you're aware of that requirement.
Okay. I think we talked about the 1 million. I don't remember. 2 million aggregate. I'm not sure what that means, but
We'll talk after. I think typically that applies to hangar owners, but we'll make sure that we clarify that after the meeting.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Do you have a lease agreement in place then with?
So we have a tentative lease agreement pending approval here to sign with them. I have a copy of that, and I think pending some of their approvals as well. We'll be moving in later this month or December is when we'd be moving in.
December. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion then to accept this pending a lease agreement and the just the proper insurance requirement so that it's maintained?
I move that we approve Mr. Curtin's proposal pending his lease execution and resolving the insurance issue with Christian.
Okay. A motion by Brad. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Claire. Those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, motion carries. Thanks, Matt. All right, item number 7. We've got a Vintage Aviation Museum storage site lease request from Sean O'Brien.
Since our development has been delayed a bit, we are requesting a lease for outdoor storage for about 4,000 square feet to help alleviate a problem we have with a lot of stuff and trying to figure out a place to put it, especially since we just recently acquired most of the flight exhibit at the Leonardo Museum, including the MiG-21 and the C-131.
What's your proposal? What do you propose to do? How do you do it?
I'm sorry?
How do you propose to do it?
Well, just be an outdoor space that would be identified by Christian to where we could go ahead, just store a couple of aircraft and a few shipping containers.
So want to store containers then?
Yeah.
Is everything in containers, or will there be aircraft parts outside of containers?
So the MiG would be intact. It would be outside the container. The 131 would be in pieces, and it's too large to put into a container.
Do we have a location site that something like that would work, Christian?
We've got some space pending improvement, so I'd recommend that if we do have the space available, that improvements be paid for by the potential lessee.
BC. Okay. Okay. What? How many storage are these Connex containers? About how many would there be?
Two for now, possibly a third. The third's up in the air.
3. Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
Do you know what color these shipping containers are? I know we've typically got,
Yeah,
requirements for
they
structures,
are,
and if these are going to be on the airport long term.
Light tan color. And they're brand new condition. They're not graffitied and they don't look like they belong on the side of a mountain.
Okay. All right.
There's always been a concern from the board, sometimes when we park derelict airplanes at the airport. How long do you think, do you have a vision yet of how long that's going to last, or
Well, that kind of
can
depends
we
on
require you
if
to?
we get our approval in February to move forward with our land lease for our development. So probably about 18 months.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make a motion to approve the Vintage Aviation Museum storage site lease request.
Okay.
Could we add the caveats, I guess,
Yeah.
if you're going to address those?
The specific caveat of the
color, the
the
price
color, the
of
pricing,
the lease, and
the lease,
improvements to the land.
and improvements to the land.
Yeah. I would say too, as far as pricing, I think that's again in this kind of fair and equitable thing. Any of the non aviation, and this actually is probably more of an aviation storage, but I know we have some trailer parking and stuff. It's all at tie down rates. So whatever a tie down is. So I'm assuming when Christian identifies a site, if he can identify a site, it would be based off of whatever those items are for, I don't know, on a tie down rate value. Is that correct, Christian?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I'd also suggest that there be a caveat related to the development that he's talking about, so that if the development isn't approved, that somehow the lease doesn't extend much longer beyond that, and that you don't have those containers on the thing where he's not developing here, right? So we can add something like that into that lease.
So should we add the caveat of like a 12 months, but option to renew?
Just that it's tied to the development
Okay.
into some sense. But yes, you could tie, however you want to word that is,
Yeah.
I'm sure we can work it out.
Matt, how do we
I
word
would
it?
recommend that the lease be able to be canceled by either airport management or the airport board at any time, and it be set at a 1-year term.
All right.
Okay, everyone's getting all those caveats.
I was going to say. All right. So to clarify, Sean, you're going to pay attention to this. Make sure you got it all. But no. So an approval for this would be based off of the containers being tan and in presentable condition. That they're at a lease that can be tied to your hangar development renewal, but it can be terminated by airport staff. And I believe that was it. Was there anything else I need to add to that?
And the improvements to the land, if needed.
And the improvements to the land to allow for this, because you will not be on pavement when this goes, I'm assuming. So the improvements to properly secure the containers and anything exterior, from elements and things of that nature will be on the leasee. We there? Is that your motion?
Yes.
I just went through it all? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We have a second?
I second it.
All right, second by Brad. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right. So
you.
we'll just have you get with Christian on all that
Perfect.
as far as it goes through there. Okay. All right. Item number 8, Glide Path Aviation, the UDOT electrification grant discussion.
Hi, thanks for your time.
Yeah, sorry, Kevin Ryan. Yep. Are you Kevin? Yep.
Kevin, yes, sir.
Okay.
I guess there's a lot to talk about here. I don't know if Christian has the slide for it. UDOT just put out a grant. They authorized a grant for $2 million to electrify airports throughout the state. The governor's pushing really hard for what we call advanced air mobility and electrification. Christian and I talked, and this location has been identified as a perfect spot for the initial charging stations. and we've already submitted the grant application. Our position in that race to get that grant would be greatly enhanced if the city could offer some kind of in-kind donation. My company is also offering an in-kind donation of our time and expertise. It would most likely be something like land use and permitting. But what we'll do is with the grant is put two electric charging stations in that area with a ramp that we'll provide, and hopefully, if everything works out the way that the governor wants it to, in the next 5 to 6 years, we'll have advanced air mobility airplanes, electric aircraft, reduce carbon emissions, reduce noise pollution. Won't be fighting with regular GA pilots over runway space and use. It'll be their take off vertically and then switch to a regular flight and then back to vertical. So they'll be able to get you to downtown Salt Lake City in 20 minutes for $40. So
Talking about the Jetsons now.
yep, it's getting there, really close. Certifications for most of these airplanes are happening in 26, it looks like, pending some government shutdowns. But yeah, and we have an opportunity here to be at the forefront of it. Right, like I said, there's $2 million in grant right now for this fiscal year. The application's the deadline was last month, and they should be awarding them here in the next few weeks. But they're estimating like each airport will get like $400,000. So it's really only 4 or 5 airports that'll get this initial grant money. We're representing you guys, and also Price and some of Heber. Heber's actually doing their own application, and then we're going to be the managing partner of the installation and all that. So that's really the only thing I really need to ask you guys today is your permission and blessing to be allow Glide Path to be the point of contact for Christian and this project and the initial $2 million grant that they're putting out right now. And then in the future, we can have more discussions about growing this into turning Spanish Fork into a terminal for businesses. The electrification of airplanes is going to be like the electrification of vehicles and shipping. A helicopter ride from here to Salt Lake would probably cost you about $5,000. In our airplanes, it'll be less than $300. So we could really democratize travel and deliveries and shipping and everything else. And Spanish Fork is prime location to really be the south end of the valley, a distribution hub for all of this. So,
I've got a question for JUB on this for Kimberly. I'd love to know your take on this. I mean, is this something you're dealing with at other airports, or have you heard about this grant?
Yes, we are.
I was going to say, yeah.
I would
just trying to educate myself here, Kevin, on what this, would or does or.
Kim, if you would comment on that location too. I know we've talked about tie downs there in the long-term future, but maybe add any insight to that initial proposed location.
Sure. Kim Sylvester at JUB, Airports Engineering Consultant for Aviation. I was actually just chatting with my colleague Neil about this subject as we're talking. He's listening in on the YouTube as it's being broadcast. We were aware about the grant, yes. My understanding is the $2 million is a total amount that's going to be split up amongst other airports, whoever they accept after they review the applications. I don't have a lot of information or discussion on advanced air mobility and viability. It is. I know it's a hot topic, but it's something I think we got to get the infrastructure in first, the electrification for these aircraft that are going to be doing these vertical takeoff and landings. So the location is. This is the first time seeing it, so I apologize. That location's a little busy. There's a lot. There's electrical crossing the runway, and the storm drain master plan was just installed crossing that runway and the taxiway in that location. And I know that the NavAid cables. There's a big box in that area for the NavAid cables that come through from the vault. Going out to the AWAS and the cables. So I'd have to take a little bit more time to evaluate that location and also see kind of what the footprint is that they're needing, what kind of equipment is going to be in there, how far off is it from the taxiway, outside of the safety areas is what we'd want to see as well in the object-free areas.
Okay. And maybe this.
It seems like an odd location in light of the development on Main Street. Like if you're thinking of air mobility and air taxi, with all the development we're doing on the north side, it seems like you'd want public access, which is what Main Street was designed for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're not, like, if this is just a proposed thing to go in an application and it can be changed later, maybe it's not a big deal.
Yeah. So is this intended to be like a landing area for the vertical takeoff and landing vehicles?
Yeah. So when I talked to Christian, this is the spot that he identified as the most viable right now. We did talk about the north side ramp and the Mike Beatty side, and we're flexible. We don't care, and the state doesn't care where the grant money goes to. This was the proposal I sent to them as an initial application. They don't mind, and it would also, with the engineering side, it would be smart to find out where the best place to tap into power is, and all these interfering with NavAids and stuff like that would be very important, and that's part of the grant money, is to engage with the engineering side of it and get those questions answered. This this particular spot, I've never seen it, but
Yeah.
I think it would, in my mind, it would be for future use. So we're going to grow this into a vertipad, which is what they call the landing pads. And you can kind of look at it as a big ramp. And these helicopters, airplane, eVTOLs is what they're called, will just take off and land on the same spot. They don't take up any runway space, no taxiway space, anything like that. And it could be anywhere on the, as long as there's power.
And Neil just reminded me too, if they do get the grant, if you guys do get the grant, the specific location can also be worked out later. It doesn't have to be this location.
It doesn't have to be approved at that time.
Right, and we can look at that and see. Another item is that if this is installed, we would need to update the ALP to show that location that we want to put that in as well. So there will be some costs to do that.
Okay. Okay. Now, the next question. I think, Kimberly, you said you didn't have a lot on this, but just on these aircraft type, I mean, I'm just trying to envision why UDOT's trying to bring these all to airports. I mean, we've already got a saturated airport as it is. To bring I'm just picturing drone, basically, after drone firing off there. I mean, why are they putting these at an airport and not at if it's just like a helipad? Why are they? Does UDOT say why they're trying to put this at airports to try to?
The three biggest reasons that they're giving is, number one, the infrastructure needs to be built out, and starting at an airport is the obvious choice to begin with. The benefits, though, for the city and specifically these small municipal airports is turning them from, the general aviation. Then you're not competing with the pilots that are using the runway, because you don't need. You're off to the side, you can take off and stay out of their way. It's a lot like helicopter operations are for airports, but, and like this specific location, I know specifically, Christian told me that there's a 500-foot, what is it? Like
building restriction line.
Building restriction. You can't build buildings within 500 feet of that. So obviously, if you're going to build this out to a vertipad, with a terminal where people, just regular civilians, can drive up like it's a Via bus stop and then hop onto this vertipad and go downtown in 20 minutes for super cheap. It might become a commuter's dream for living down here and working in the city. I just drove down here for this meeting and it was crazy. But yeah, I mean, and obviously, so that location would be prohibitive to building it out in the future and scaling it up to where you could have a large building like a FBO, something like that. And it's only the first step. I mean, we could fully do this operation and never even interrupt all these other guys. And you could really save on, the landing fees and the increasing rents on the hangars and stuff like that by utilizing this, because it makes aviation so much cheaper for everybody. And maybe some of these guys will end up flying electric airplanes. They also have those coming out, and they're it's all coming. So,
Question, is there a reason this has to be at an airport?
I think that the state is looking at it as an aviation asset that they want to improve and change over, just like, I think if you look at it from a cargo's perspective, like cargo, basically some of these airports get really busy with cargo shipping because they're centralized and they're a good distribution center, and the reason people like fly cargo into Provo Airport because it's a commercial operation, and then they ship it by truck here. We can eliminate that truck and the cargo airplane and just have electric shipping so much cheaper. I mean, you're talking about like 30 cents on the dollar for an electric airplane versus a gas.
I think that's kind of some long-term thinking with kind of eVTOL and where that could go. In reading through the grant and talking and having a relationship with UDOT Aeronautics staff, there's a lot of change coming to just everyday use aircraft. There's hybrid, there's fully electric aircraft. Heber just got a dealership for Pipistrel aircraft, and they sell fully electric aircraft up there already. And so the state's push is kind of wanting to implement charging stations around the state so electric aircraft owners and transportation is more available to the aviation community.
Can I take a cut at that question?
Yeah.
From an engineering perspective and planning. Currently, a lot of it is land use and planning. There's really nowhere else that you can put them in the cities yet, zoning laws and that sort of thing. It'd be like putting a helipad right next to a building that you're working in and having that land right downtown or something like that. So there's no zoning and planning regulations to handle this stuff right now in other places. Industrial areas might be, the most feasible outside of an airport, but there's still going to be issues to figure out in that arena. And another large driver for the state in this, I think, is the Olympics in '34, trying to prepare for that and build infrastructure ahead of time.
Okay. All right. So now that we've seen what the vision of this is.
Oh, and also airspace. I'm sorry. So airspace is allowing aircraft to be flying over cities and into cities and having appropriate highways in the sky, as they say, right?
Sure.
So there's only certain, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. Is this a manned drone or is this unmanned? Or
No, these will be manned. Initially,
what's the size you're talking about?
So Beta Technologies has a eVTOL with a 50-foot wingspan. And they have a CTOL, which is a conventional takeoff and landing airplane that's also like 50-foot wingspan. They're not huge.
The rotors, the electric rotors?
Yeah. I don't know, I should have brought a slide, but Christian, if you wanted to pull up Beta Technologies and put it up there, you could show them what that airplane looks like. But these are manned aircraft, and that's how we got involved. We're pilots and helicopter. We all work for Utah Air National Guard and stuff like that, so we know this airspace well. So.
All right. I just want to be 100% clear on what your request is on this and how it would look in the vision of everything. But this request and what UDOT's grant, we are talking, it's just a charging station, right? It is not, it doesn't tie into additional, this hub mindset you've got. I mean, basically, to put in something that I can vision, you're talking about like when I drive into the Walmart and there's an electric vehicle charging parking area.
Yes.
That's what we're putting, that's what this is, correct?
And these chargers are actually a universal standard, so you could literally charge an electric bus or a car
So
from
okay.
the same chargers.
Yeah. So the idea of anything beyond that, like a passenger hub or terminal, that kind of stuff that you're envisioning, that would be somebody else's vision of what this would, to bring electrical aircraft to the airport.
Right.
They just would need a charging station if they were to show up.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, and it's not just for the vertical takeoff and landings, it's also for the electric aircraft as well,
Okay.
the fixed wing.
Okay.
There's electric DA-40s out there that are getting more popular, and other just commonplace aircraft that you would never tell that they're an electric aircraft.
So
Okay.
you put it up on the board, that's the aircraft there. That's the CTOL, the conventional takeoff and landing. That's not really my realm, but that is also an electric aircraft. And that's where they're trying to go with for the delivery and cargo aspect. And then the eVTOL is on there as well. That's more of a passenger thing.
So what are the odds of you getting this grant?
Well, they offered it to all 50 airport managers in the state. We think that about half of them applied. They set it up to where they're granting certain, for each, how would I put it? They're giving points, basically. They have parameters, and if you meet those parameters, you get maxed out points, 10 points. So if you have an airport that's already done an engineering study, that's 10 points. If you have a location identified that could be used in this situation, that's 10 points. If you have they really want public-private partnerships. So if you have a public and private partnership, that's more 10 points. If they're willing to do in-kind donations, like permitting and land use, another 10 points. So I think we stand probably in a 60-40 shot our way. And just by our company itself has identified Spanish Fork as being a prime location for what they want to do. It's most of these new planes have about a 40-minute to 100-mile range, and so if you do the math, it really works out well. To Spanish Fork is on that far end range of it. So, and this is only an initial grant. Like I said, it's $2 million. It's going to be divvied up among 4 or 5 airports. They probably already have some people in mind. I've heard rumors, but I know that we have a good shot, and I know it would be advantageous to at least apply and try to max out what we can do for the application.
All right. Along those, and this will be, again, Kimberly and Christian on this. So you're saying that the grants for $400,000 towards the airport, which only would complete, by your estimates, 80% of the project. So the remaining $100,000, I mean, that's obviously not something that we've budgeted or worked towards as far as a capital improvement. How does that, I mean, what's the effect the airport's going to have? If we were to approve something like this and get awarded it, and I'm guessing UDOT's going to need to see it completed, correct? On this, we can't go to 80% and call it good enough for another grant to show up. So
Right.
we're going to be on the hook for roughly $100,000. Am I correct in all of that?
Yeah. So another thing to consider is I don't know, Christian, have you talked with the power department to see what the draw for these charging stations would be to the city's electrical grid? And if there's any concerns, we looked at this at some of our smaller communities in the state with their cities, and right now they can't support electric vehicles because of the draw that it takes to their power system until they do a lot of upgrades to that. So that's one thing to consider as well.
Power around the airport in the industrial zone of Spanish Fork is really robust. I haven't talked to the power department yet, but there is a lot of high voltage and power capabilities around the airport.
And
Yeah.
and that $100,000 that you guys would need to put into that could be used on other projects at the airport as well.
I will
like
say
tower.
that where the airport's at with our budget on the next couple of years and allocating capital to the parking lot upgrade, the electrical room relocation, kind of priority projects we have, the airport's not in a position today to put airport capital towards this project. If it was privately funded or funded through grants, we'd love to have it. but the airport's not in a position to put money towards a project like this.
And in the application, our company has offered in-kind donation to bridge that gap. And like I said, the in-kind donation from you guys would just be permitting and land use, obviously. So cash out of your coffers, we're not looking at right now. And I think we could do it under the $400,000 budget. I think that's high, actually, for what we're trying to do.
So is this something that has to, that we don't even know if the airport's going to get it, right?
Yeah.
So even at the point where it's offered, the board can consider declining the grant at a later date if it is offered. So it's not something we have to decide today, right?
Yeah, right. That's what
Okay.
I think I led with that one.
Oh,
is that
good.
I'm not really asking for permission to do it. I'm saying we would like to represent you. We put in the application with our names on it, and Christian told me I could not get the blessing until you guys gave me it. So that's really what I'm asking for. And
Yeah,
I think
there's definitely a lot of unanswered questions or a lot of things to wrap our head around on this. But I don't know if we've ever done, we always work through engineering or through like JEB or engineers on additional
and that's actually
grant.
probably who we would also go to.
I would like to be involved.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You have my support personally to move forward with it, but then that's if we get it, then there's going to be a lot more questions.
Yeah.
And I think that's when we'd circle back and talk more.
Yeah,
But that's how I feel.
there's a lot of opportunity too that we can discuss
Yeah.
as well. So.
As long as cost is not incurred by the airport,
Right.
airport staff would be in favor of this.
Do you want to turn that report to your motion then?
Sure. I'll make a motion to support let's see where I am. The Glide Path Aviation UDOT electrification grant.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
Second by Claire. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Thank
Kevin.
you.
Yeah, look forward to see what happens. All right, item number 9, updates to the hangar ground lease agreement. Christian.
All right, the airport board has this document in hand. We reviewed it in our working session prior to this meeting. Just a review of some of these pertinent changes to this lease. I'll run through those in a minute. The idea behind this is, over the last 3 to 5 years, we've seen a lot of growth at the airport, and we've learned a lot as airport staff, airport board, and city council on the ins and outs of hangar leases and the terms of those leases. As we have a 50-year ground lease, we would like some of the terms in these leases and things that hangar owners are required to abide by to be detailed. And so as we're looking at executing a lot of leases on the north side, the main street side of the airport, this ground lease template update would help better manage hangar ground leases on the north side of the airport. So with that, I'll jump into this. The first major change here is the rent and fee section of the lease. The updated recommendations that rent adjustments, the method is clarified. It now explicitly allows for periodic review and recommends that it be CPI based, but the city council can increase the rates as necessary. Construction improvements, those with hangars that they've just purchased, have to go through proper channels to get permits and licenses to make construction improvements to the interior of their hangar after it's purchased. Insurance is adjusted. The minimum coverage amounts are increased. And it states that Spanish Fork City must be listed as additionally insured. And there is an update to the termination clause. It expands and lists specific causes for termination of the lease, including non-payment, abandonment, code violations, or unlawful use of that hangar. There's clarifications in there that the lessee may terminate for destruction or unusable premises there. And there's compliance references as well that refer to Title 11, which will be the new airport code that help tie hangar lease agreements to our airport code. Any questions from the board?
I'd just remind the board of just a couple of changes that we talked about in the work session related to operational aircraft, related to Title 11, and a little bit on insurance. So just as you approve or recommend this to the City Council for approval, if you'll include the revisions that were included in the packet plus a few others as discussed.
As discussed. Okay. All right. Thanks, Joshua. All right. Do we have a motion?
I motion that we tentatively approve the hangar ground lease as reviewed and modified.
All right. As discussed. All right. Motion by Brad. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Stacy. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right. Motion carries. All right. That concludes the regular agenda items. As far as other items of concern, during our work session meeting today with the board, we reviewed and assessed the landing fees as those have been implemented August 1st, and trying to ensure that it's a fair and equitable process that's going through there. We have reached out to Vector, who is providing that service for us. With that, the amount of information that we requested and what needs to be reviewed from us, from the board, we are going to hold a board meeting next month in December on the first Thursday, which would be
December 4th.
December 4th, thank you. So December 4th board meeting, just for the board to gather that data and ensure that all is proper and correct with the landing fee implementations, and if any adjustments or amendments need to be made. So that's just by way of information for the general public. If you would like to attend that, that will be on December 4th at 4 o'clock here. So any other items from board members? Okay, or the public? We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right, motion by Claire. Second.
Second it.
Brad, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, at 5:11. Your attendance, everyone?